Hello, everyone, and welcome to yet another episode of Beyond the Job Title. Today, we are joined by Abhishek Singh, who works as an Agile coach. Welcome to the show, Abhishek.
Hey Manmeet, hi. How are you doing? And thank you so much for having me on the show.
Yeah, I'm good, Abhishek. Thanks for joining us. So, Abhishek, could you give us an overview of what Agile coach is all about, this job?
Right. So see, Agile Coach, of course, as the name suggests, it's all about trying to make people aware and help them understand what Agile way of working is all about, right?
Mm-hmm.
And a major part of Agile coaching has a lot to do with helping organizations traverse through their Agile transformation journey. It also includes a lot of mentoring and coaching aspirants who want to get into the role of a scrum master or a release train
Mm-hmm.
engineer or a product owner or product manager, whichever role they want to, as far as agile way of working is concerned. And a very critical part of this role is also to coach the leadership team,
Mm.
because agile way of working is a very top driven approach, right?
Okay.
Because it's not only about software development life cycle, even though that is the perceived notion about agile
Mm-hmm.
way of working. But agile way of working is more of a strategic initiative that an organization undertakes, and
Mm.
that's where it becomes very critical that the leadership of the organization at an enterprise level, they have a very good understanding of what agile actually is, and that is where agile coaching plays a major role, and a very critical one at that.
Sure, Abhishek. So, in terms of um, Agile way of working for software development, what actually Agile way of working entails and why it has been brought forward? Could you give us an insight into that?
Yeah. So see, the traditional approach of working, and first of all, what I would like to say is why so much of focus on the IT side of things.
Mm.
Because today, in today's world, information technology has become a driver. It
Mm.
used to be an enabler. It used to be a
Mm.
cost center initially,
Mhm.
when IT came into being. Then
Mm.
it became an enabler. Today, it is more of a business driver, right? If you want to launch a new product into the market as a product organization, if you are a services based organization, if you want to create a new service for your
Mm.
client, right? For all things and everything, you need information technology, right? And that is where information technology has become a kind of business driver, right? So
Mm.
in our traditional approach was that there will be some kind of documentation that would be done. It would be a full blown kind of a dissertation or a thesis wherein it will have all the requirements and everything. The team will take it, they will start working on it,
Mhm.
and then there would hardly be any connect between the team and the end consumer of that product or
Mm.
service, right?
Mm.
So that project duration might be of 6 months, 1 year, whatever it might be. And then after 6 months or 1 year, people will reach out to end consumers. They will demonstrate it. They will showcase that this is what we have done based on the requirement that was given to us
Mm.
6 months or 1 year back.
Mm. Mm.
It might be working 15 or 20 years back, but in today's world where technology is changing at every day, right? Every day something
Mm.
new is coming up into the market. It is it is actually very important for the organizations to adapt, right? And that is where agile comes into picture. And agile has started playing a very key role in how any organization, for that matter, irrespective of the domain or the business area that they are functioning in,
Mm.
how are they able to capture the market? How are they able to gain that competitive advantage, right? And that is where agile comes into picture, which basically talks about that instead of working in silos, it's a very collaborative approach, wherein every now and then at regular short intervals, you are basically reaching out to the end consumer. You are actually hearing it from them. It's like hearing from the horse's mouth,
Mm.
You are showing them not only the document part, you are actually showcasing what you have created in small increments, right? And you are
Mm.
integrating it in almost real time, so that you capture any kind of issues or defects or bugs, whatever maybe the problem with the system, with the application, with the product,
Mm.
as early in the whole life cycle as possible, so that your cost gets reduced, right?
So early
So
feedback
that is
from
where
the end user
Agile
is
plays a
mm,
critical role.
interesting, interesting. So thanks for giving us an overview of what Agile and Agile Coach is all about. So could you please share your journey into becoming an Agile Coach? What are the steps you took?
Before I actually get into the steps that I took, or my journey, I would like to just say one thing, and it will remain a constant uh, a constant theme
Mm-hmm.
as in how we proceed in this call. Please always remember this, to everybody who's watching this, all the listeners: Agile is a role oriented framework or methodology.
Mm.
What I mean to say is that it's not hierarchical. It's not that today I am a project manager and tomorrow I get promoted to become a program manager, and
Mm.
then I get promoted to become, let's say, a delivery manager or senior program manager or whatever. When
Mm.
I say role based, what I mean to say is that today I'm playing the role of an agile coach because the situation demands that from me. Tomorrow, it might be a case that I might have to play the role of a scrum master.
Mm.
It might also be possible that I might have to play the role of a release train engineer based on what is the current landscape of the organization that you're working for
Mm.
the current situation. Right? Now, coming back to my journey in agile world, it started off, I would say, around 8 9 years back,
Mm.
wherein I got myself a certification to start off with. That was the thing. I mean, that's not a very ideal way to approach it, but I guess that's how normally we approach anything, any situation. I was doing agile or scrum master role in bits and pieces, right? It was only in around 2017-18 when
Mm-hmm.
I formally started off into this agile way of working, and I started off as a scrum master, and then
Mm.
I moved on to play the role of a release train engineer, wherein I had to take care of multiple scrum masters. So it's almost can be looked at as a scaled version of a scrum master. And then from
Mm.
there on, I went on to, and currently also I'm playing the role of an agile coach, wherein I now my responsibility has changed a lot, because I mean, I'm also responsible for the delivery side of things, but equally and very much responsible to, as I already mentioned earlier, guide, coach, and mentor teams, leadership, and everybody who is a part of this whole engagement into agile ways of working, and how they
Mm.
can transform their way of working from the traditional approach to agile.
Mm. Nice. So, Abhishek, if somebody wants to start afresh, what could be a potential career pathway for them to get into being an agile coach or a scrum master?
Yeah.
Could you share some
Uh,
insights on that?
Right. So again, it's more of today. There are a lot of opportunities out there, right?
Mm.
Almost every organization, every enterprise is moving towards agile way of working, because that is what the situation demands, right? So of
Mm.
course, there are so many roles, and there are multiple opportunities out there across all kind of organizations for these roles,
Mm.
right? As a scrum master or a release train engineer. If I have to really draw an analogy between the
Mm.
traditional roles and the agile role, I would say that, and I will not say that it's an absolutely right way, but just for the understanding of people who
Mhm.
are new to agile world, I would say that you can always think of a scrum master as a modified project manager,
Mm.
but with far more additional skill set. Right? So as a project manager, wherein you're lot many times, and I think I have also worked in that kind of setup, wherein you will have somebody who will just come into a meeting room or into a call or in a conversation, pass on some orders, delegate some work, and that's it, right? And then of
Mm.
course that person will keep asking you about daily updates or whatever. Scrum Master is far more than this, right? It's not only about delegating the work. It's more of how can you push people, or rather, how can you enable people in taking up the responsibilities?
Mm.
Because agile way of working allows a lot of freedom. It's a complete decentralization of decision making. So the moment we talk about decentralization of decision making, I am passing on a lot of freedom to my team members,
Mm.
which never used to happen in a traditional approach.
Mm-hmm.
As a scrum master, it is my responsibility to make people aware that freedom comes with responsibilities.
Mm.
So, you have to take that ownership to deliver the whatever work has been assigned to our team, or it has flown from the top to it has come down to our team. And the great thing is that in the latest version of Scale Agile, which is one of the frameworks within Agile, Scrum Master has been also, they have also started calling a Scrum Master as a team coach. Yeah.
Mm.
Then, of course, as you move on, after you have played the role of a Scrum Master, then you try to move on to be a release train engineer. Again, trying to draw an analogy, which is not a very right way of doing it, but you can think of a release train engineer as a program manager, wherein you have multiple Scrum Masters working not exactly under you, but working with you. Right?
Mm.
And the kind of skill set, the kind of attitude, empathetic behavior, there is a concept of servant leadership, right? Wherein you're not just sitting in the desk and passing out orders. You're actually showing people how to do the things. That way, you are enabling them and you are making them aware, you are imparting that knowledge.
Mm.
And then, of course, you can move on to become a full-fledged agile coach in your own right. Correct. But again,
Mm.
as I said, going back to the same theme, you can, based on the situation, based on the current landscape, you should not have that thought in mind that today, because I have become an agile coach, if I play the role of a scrum master, it is some kind of going back in my career path. That's not how it is. It's a role based approach.
Mm.
And then the third part, and again, nothing beats the experience, right? So
Mm.
but there are a lot of organizations out there, just like there is a project management institute, right, which gives you the PMP certification. Similarly, for at an agile level also, you have got a lot of organizations out there which provide you with global level certifications, globally acknowledged certifications. There are Scrum Alliance, there is scrum.org, there is Kanban University, there is Scaled Agile setup. So they give you different kind of certifications which are valid all over the world, global validation.
So you reckon a certification is a useful way of gaining entry into this kind of a role?
Yeah, certification always helps because that
Mm.
that actually that gives something on your CV to attract those keywords, right? It
Mm.
basically tells you those keywords. But again, as I said, see what happens. The problem with the certification, which I feel is a big problem, is there are certifications which people do and they start claiming themselves to be an agile coach straight.
Mm.
But the point is that if you do not have the experience at the ground level, you cannot talk from your experience. Then whatever
Mm.
you are talking about remains a very theoretical understanding and theoretical knowledge, right? Today,
Mm.
when I talk to a scrum master, I draw a lot from my experience as a scrum master. When I talk to a release train engineer, I draw a lot from the experience that I have as a release train engineer. And that really
Mm.
helps, right? So so that is what I would actually suggest.
Sure. Thank you so much. Uh, I want to move on to operations now, and I want to ask you if you look at your typical day, what does a
Mhm.
typical day being an agile coach looks like?
Uh, See, I would say it is quite challenging to describe the day in the life of an agile coach. And the
Okay.
reason is because it involves a lot of conversation
Mm.
that happens at every level, right? So and it is not always possible to put a name to these conversations, right? So, however, if I have to give it a shot, what I would say is that, a lot of time is invested in getting to know, first of all, how we are moving along our agile transformation journey. Right?
Mm,
That involves a lot of uh, metrics, looking at metrics. We use a lot of application lifecycle management tools, right? Which throws
mm,
out a lot of automated reports, right? So
mm,
that's a very quantitative way to look at how things are shaping up as far as agile transformation journey is concerned. And
mm,
those numbers are a good conversation initiators, right? And good indicators of having that, initiating that conversation at the level of a scrum master, or for that matter with a release train engineer, or if required at the leadership level, right?
mm,
So it involves a lot of conversation happening at different levels, right? And then of course a very key part is also to keep interacting almost on a daily basis with the scrum masters, with the release train engineers, and whatnot. Right?
understand. So in terms of what, if I ask you what you like about the role and what are some of your dislikes, what would you say?
See, the first and the greatest thing that I like about this is the people aspect,
Hmm.
right? Because it entails a lot of it's a very collaborative approach, as I said, right?
Mm,
I know that however capable I might be, whatever my skill set be, that understanding of team dynamics
mm,
is very important. I might be an individual contributor,
yep.
but that as an individual contributor also I have to work with the team if all of us have to succeed. So the people aspect is a great it's a great driver for me in this kind of role, you know. And it also helps, it also allows me a lot of psychological exploration of thoughts, of
Mm,
human thoughts, of the behavior, of the dynamics. And of course it helps me in building a high performing team, and that is always a great trigger. It's a great joy when you see that the team that you have mentored, the team till, let's say for example, till yesterday, this team was not at all very encouraging about adopting agile way of working. But today, each one of them, they are kind of working like a well-oiled machine, and they understand the nitty and gritties of the agile way of working, and they're delivering a
mm,
high quality work. So these are the joys of working in an agile setup, right? uh, Coming to the dislikes, right? So basically, again, agile is thought of as many a times as a panacea for everything that is going wrong with an organization, right?
mm,
So again, because we have to start thinking of agile again as a strategic move, as a strategic initiative, right? So
mm,
we cannot actually only look at agile with a narrow glass of that it's a software development life cycle uh, management tool, right? And that
mm,
is why leadership also needs to get involved, right? Leaders, there have been experiences wherein I have seen that leaders do not exhibit that kind of principle, that those mindsets of agile, but they expect the team to do it. And that's where we get into faking agile, right?
mm,
So, and that's a really that's not at all good, because then the team gets stretched between whether we are working agile, or we are doing certain things agile, and then we are not agile because too
mm.
much of data collection, too much of order kind of leadership, and whatnot. So not at all collaborative.
Understand. Thanks for sharing those insights. If we move on to the kind of skills that are needed to succeed in this role of agile coach, what would you say are the skill sets?
Yeah. See, the first thing is you have to be a very good listener
Mm,
to understand what people are thinking, right? Uh, and having a terrific communication skill, so that you can articulate. the principles. You can articulate what exactly is expected as far as agile way of working is concerned from the team. And that is very important, because if you do not articulate it right, if you do not draw from your, and that is where also it is very important that you already have experienced the
Mm,
basic or the ground roles like scrum master and all. Because if you do not draw from your experiences, if you're not
mm,
able to articulate your experiences and map it with what agile principle is all about,
mhm,
you will never be able to add that that focus on agile way of working. Of course, drawing from your experience, being an active listener, and there is a very key word: empathy.
mm,
So because you, once you become a good listener, once you actually start really understanding what people are want saying, they might not be very open with you, right?
mm,
Initially, but to really understand what they are going through, what they are experiencing, it's very important. And that's where empathy, being empathetic towards people, is the key to this role, right?
mm,
Because at the end of the day, apart from just delivering the solution or whatever to your end consumer, it is a very key aspect of a scrum master or any role within agile, is that you have to make it high performing team. You have to create a team, so that tomorrow when that team gets disbanded, people, they move on to the other teams, they can carry that mindset, they can carry that principle. And that's how it will work, as a it will be a domino effect across the enterprise, across the organization.
sure, thank you. Moving on to the next question. This is more around career advice. If you recollect your journey, could you recollect one advice which particularly helped you in your career, and who gave that advice? What it was? Can you share that?
See, overall, I would say that it was at the very start, right? So I've been
Mm,
working for 17 years now, right?
mm,
So, and I started off as a developer for again another leading global IT services organization. And it was from my program manager in my first organization. He was very categorical in mentioning that today the world needs doers,
mm,
people who can get things done, not people who are sitting in their, let's say, air conditioned room or corner cabin and just belting out orders, right? So be a doer, learn from your mistakes,
mm,
and but don't make mistakes a habit. Learn from your mistakes. Next time, maybe you commit a different kind of mistake, not the same one, right? So that
mm,
always tells you that you have stepped up,
mm,
you have kind of improved. You are now a improved version of what you were, let's say, 1 week back or 10 days back. So that's something which I always try to imbibe. And another was that keep learning, because
mm,
uh, putting in, let's say, at least 1 hour or a couple of hours every day into reading anything,
mm,
anything that you want. And especially because now when we talk about agile way of working, it's a practice, right? It's more of a
mm,
consultative approach that you
mm,
take to how the organizations are set up around their way of working, right? So it really helps a lot if you do a lot of reading around what other agile practitioners are saying. There are people who have been practicing agile for last 15 years, 10 years, 20 years,
mm,
right? So trying to get from them what have been their experiences, how things have evolved and whatnot, it really helps a lot. So that is something which is really very important.
great. Thanks for sharing that, Abhishek. Really useful. If there is one advice you would like to share with the viewers, what would that be based on your years of experience?
Right. So be empathetic and good listener. Okay.
Mm,
If you really want to explore this role and really want to move ahead in this role, right? Uh, it's a very challenging path, because not because because of various reasons, right? One is, of course, the kind of uh, opposition that you will get while trying to implement agile way of working, because it's not a lot of people think from that perspective. But if you actually give it a thought, it's more of a cultural change
Mm,
that you are wanting to bring in an organization, right? Any organization. It's not that organizations in let's say it only happens in India or in services organization, nothing like that. All around the world, people are still trying to come in terms with agile way of working, with this new way of working,
mm,
right? So be empathetic, be a good listener. Do not try uh, something revolutionary always. Always try to find a mid path. If you're getting into this role, we also need to understand a very important aspect, that today, if we are working for an organization which has been in existence for, let's say, last 50 years,
mm,
right? It must be doing something good. Then only it has been able to survive, right? So
mm,
today, if you come in and you just want to change everything just like that, nobody is going to agree to it, and you will always find that opposition.
mm,
So always work with uh, practicality, with proper understanding, with proper logic in place as to why we are doing it,
mm,
and always try to bring everybody together when you are actually going on this journey, and that's how you will be able to succeed. Another very important aspect is that, see, if you read about a role of a scrum master, agile coach, again, I did say that you need to do a lot of reading also, right?
mm,
But do not get influenced by it. You have to make this role your own, because
mm,
every organization, every landscape will be completely different.
mhm,
Within the organization also, today you might be working with certain team. Tomorrow you might be moving on to some other team. Within an organization also, the dynamics changes a lot, right? So always try to work according to the dynamics and then plan your action. As a scrum master, this is where we stand today. As a release train engineer, this is where we stand today. As an agile coach, this is where my team stands today, and this is how I need to move on. So a plan of action, having a plan of action is very important. Not necessary that transformation journey only has to be at an agile coach level. Even as
mm,
a scrum master, even as a release train engineer, because a key part of your responsibility is to create a self evolving team. And for that, it is very important to understand the current dynamic and create a path for them,
mm.
create their learning curve, and then act on it.
Sure, that's very insightful. Thanks for sharing, Abhishek. So अब एक break लेते हैं. I'll send you the link, yeah, on WhatsApp. ठीक है?
Okay. Thank
Sorry. Yeah. So Abhishek, moving on, could you possibly share what are potential growth opportunities in this role? What does the future look like for the role Agile Coach?
Yeah. So again, of course, first of all, in one word, if I have to say that, I would say that, yeah, it's great, right? Uh,
Mm-hmm.
a career path, a career move into this world, agile world, is excellent. It's an excellent choice. It would be an excellent choice for anyone, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because see, the organizations, right, as I mentioned, technology, right, with the changing requirements today, it's not only about the technology, and that's where we have to be very, very specific, right? Because what happens is, today I might be launching a product which caters to, for example, 20 to 30 years old, right?
Mm-hmm.
But that adaptation of the product is also changing. What the kind of, let's say, the kind of clothing that was very much prevalent for, let's say, 20 to 30 years old, today that age group has moved on, right? Today it might be valid till 40 years old,
Mm,
right? So in order to accommodate that change, it is important that you achieve a level of business agility. Otherwise, you will not survive in
mm,
today's world. That's for sure. There are many examples out there, right? So as organizations continue to adopt agile methodologies, there is a growing need for agile coaches all around the world, right? All across the globe. And because these agile methodologies are getting widely adopted, right? So initially it used to be a thought that organizations which are only working as a client organization, right? So I'm working
Mm-hmm.
for a services organization currently. And we
Yeah.
have clients ranging from the banking domain, from insurance, retail, media and entertainment, life sciences, etc. So only those organizations might need an agile coach, right? The the thought has completely changed now, right? Because what happens is, because the services organizations also, they are basically the technology organizations, right? We are the ones who provide our services. We create functionalities or applications for our customers.
Mm.
And because IT is a business driver also, so clients also expect that there will be an agile coach coming in from the services side also, right? And in fact, there are instances wherein there are coaches working from the customer side as well as the services side, and they work together on the transformation bit, right? Because it's an over end-to-end transformation, right? We
Mm.
starting off from the leadership top-down approach. So that is where there is lots and lots and lot of scope in terms of agile coaching opportunities out there. And when I say agile coaching, I don't only mean to say that somebody needs to target only so-called agile coach role. You know,
Mm.
within within agile's umbrella, roles like scrum master, roles like release train engineer, there is a great demand for them. And it is an ever increasing demand, because as I mentioned,
Mm.
organizations are just moving towards agile uh, uh, methodologies. Whether they really like it or not, that's secondary now.
Mm.
In order
Mm.
to survive in this market, they have to be agile, right? So, and when I say agile organization, I mean to say everything, not only the IT side, the finance, the HR, everything is driven by agility, right? And that's how organizations will be achieving business agility in today's time.
Sure, thanks. So, Abhishek, if we have to look at work-life balance for this role, what what would you say? How much work-life balance is achievable working as an agile coach? Do you get enough time for pursuing your hobbies?
Uh,
Yeah.
yes. Again, see, what happens is when you start off, right? So let's say if you are into a setup which
Mm.
is completely new to agile way of working,
Mm.
then initially, of course, you will have to spend some extra hours, right? Because, of course, for obvious reason that you have to kind of enable them, empower them, make them understand in true sense what is agile. And
Mm.
because, as I mentioned, it's more of a cultural change that we are bringing in, there will be opposition. There will be people who will not like it, and right. So, of course, there is a lot of there is a lot of investment of time
Mm.
that go initially. But if you are doing it the right way, right? If you are able to really, and it's not only from your side, it has to be from both sides, right? Even people who are actually listening to you, who have employed you, for example, let's say you're part of a team which is wanting to move agile way, if they also should be they also should adapt to or listen to or understand what you're saying,
Mm.
right? So it's basically very typical of different stages of team formation, right? You start from forming, norming, etc., etc.
Mm.
Uh, so that is how you have to basically, and once your team they are able to adapt, they are able to understand, and you are able to imbibe in them enough temperament, the kind of mindset, follow agile principles, then of course you will have kind of a lot of time in hand to pursue whatever you want to in your free time, right? Uh, Another aspect of this is that, as I had mentioned earlier, also it's very consultative approach,
Mm.
right? So you don't remain an agile coach lifelong for a team. It is not that kind of role. But this is only true for an agile coach, right? As a Scrum Master, as a release train engineer, you might have an extended run with your
Mm-hmm.
team,
Mm-hmm.
right? But as an Agile coach, the point is that, as long as they are on their journey of Agile transformation, once they have transformed into Agile way of working, the baton of continuing or sustaining that way of working should be passed on to the Scrum Master, to the likes of release train engineer, etc., who will be taking it forward from there. And then, of course, you move on to another engagement. So normally that is how an Agile coach,
Mm,
only Agile coach, that is how an Agile coach functions.
great. With that, we come to the end of the today's episode. Thank you so much, Abhishek, for coming and sharing your lovely insight. It was pleasure to have you here. Thank you.
No worries, Mani. Thank you so much for having me once again. And it was great to share my thoughts. And thank you for the opportunity. Thank you so much.
Thank you.